Vil du have, vi skal gå hele vejen?
Hvad er der, mand?
Fanden tror du, vil du have, vi skal gå hele vejen, mand?
Hold da kæft. Og min bror, mand, nu må der eddermame holde op.
Dogma 95 is quite possibly the single most important film movement in history to me. Let me tell you why. I was a junior in college and I was just starting my film courses. I was excited. I thought I knew a lot about cinema. I had seen Citizen Kane. I had seen David Lynch. I grew up on Tarantino and Fincher. I loved Charlie Chaplin. I knew a lot, right? Wrong. But I was excited to take all the classes, barring they fit my schedule. I signed up for a film studies class called Dogma 95 because it fit my schedule. I had no idea what it was about, but I had seen the movie Dogma by Kevin Smith. Maybe it was something like that. I showed up Monday to my first day taught by this old and calm Danish professor who had worked with many Dogma filmmakers. I was hungover. He dove in slowly, but he dove into what Dogma 95 was. It was a movement created by filmmakers in 1995 to create a greater sense of realism in cinema. It was to be the new French New Wave. Taking notes from the era of filmmakers, they wrote a set of rules. Rules like all films had to be handheld, shot on 35mm. Non-diegetic music was not allowed. You couldn't do anything that couldn't be done in real life. So the founding fathers, Thomas Vinterberg and Lars wrote the rules, and off they went to create their own Dogma 95 films. As someone who loved polished movies and special effects like Terminator 2, I couldn't wait to see how rough these movies were to watch. Starting with Dogma number 1, Festen, or in English, The Celebration, Danish professor started us off on a journey. I was blown away. The film was incredible. It was about a family get-together where a dark family secret finally comes to light. The story and the acting were next level, and I hardly noticed the execution of it. Or I did, and I was impressed by the craft. Funny enough, it was shot on digital, and all the filmmakers quickly abandoned the rule that it had to be shot on 35mm, as the new digital cameras were just coming out, and it made the handheld rule much easier to stick to. Amongst other things, it was just convenient. You could do many long takes, and they all accepted it as long as it was printed on 35mm to present later. With Festen, it was clear that these filmmakers were onto something. Limitations and rules yet again led to intense creativity in problem solving and storytelling. Their attention was allowed to focus elsewhere instead of simply just technology. Like this awesome shot that was executed by taping the camera to a pole. Technically, it was breaking the rule of being handheld, but admitting the rules you break is also another rule. Then I was introduced to Lars with The Idiots, which was Dogma number 2. Lars was a main character in the class and someone who I grew to admire for both his films and his persona. He was crazy, but to the 20-something-year-old film student struggling with crippling anxiety, he was a hero. The Idiots was about a group of friends who spaz in public or act mentally disabled for attention. Its bizarre story works well at showing the desperation of humans for love, attention, and community. Lars used porn actors to act out full penetration in an orgy scene in the movie. It was the first film to feature unsimulated sex at Cannes Film Festival. The movie was amazing, and as was Festen, and they were able to go to deeper, more complex areas of human emotion than you often saw in other films. They were transgressive and provocative as well. Although the movement didn't become the only way the filmmakers worked, they went on to incorporate many of the stylistic aspects that came out of the rules, such as realism and handheld camera work. The biggest takeaway for them and myself as a film student was that story and acting is everything. Story and acting is cinema. It is the greatest special effect of all. As long as the story and acting are great, everything else just adds to the tone and to the edit. So much can be learned from revisiting Dogma 95. I wish more filmmakers today were familiar with it, and I certainly wish more would apply one simple qualification that made it work so well: story. When you can't rely on fancy CGI budgets and equipment, you are left with only one thing: story. Story is everything. Cinema is simply a means to tell a story through images and performance. So here's to seeing that more in my own work moving forward, and hopefully more directors in the business. Be well, and always remember, cinema can't die. Like, subscribe, and comment to see more content like this in the future.